excited and honored to have one of the most established writers in the Philippines. Sa Tagalog, ika nga, isa siyang batikan sa larangan ng pagsulat. Hindi lang sa magazine writing, kung hindi sa paglikha na rin ng mga aklat. Ikinatutuwa talaga siya ng mga bata, guro at pati na rin ng mga magulang. Here are some of the books that have been written by our guest author. She is currently the editor-in-chief of Esquire magazine under Summit Media. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, readers and writers, please welcome Pag asa sa Pagbasa's featured author of the month, Yvette Fernandez.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Good to see you
Yes.
all.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Yvette. Thank you for gracing my pag-asa sa pagbasa. Before we start, I just want to make lang an explanation regarding my pag-asa sa pagbasa. So kami po ay isang grupo ng community that our goal here is to be able to educate and shape the mind of the Filipinos. The goal here is to really encourage families to really read to their kids, ang mga parents po, especially in this time of pandemic. So, Tinky and I and the other core group were thinking about how can we equip the Filipinos and be able to really love reading, no? And nakakatuwa nga when Tinky shared to me that you are coming. So thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for, I know you have a lot of invites, but thank you for gracing our humble organization.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy. I'm always happy to talk to any group, big or small, and to share the love for reading and books.
Yes, I was checking all of your books, no? Actually, hindi ko alam na meron pala ako nun. Ngayon ko lang na-realize na meron pala akong book ni Ma'am Yvette, no? Kasi I love to collect Filipino children's book. And I have the Good Morning Manila. That's what I have. That's the recent one. Yes, the Good Morning Manila, yes. And nakakatuwa lang din kasi especially now in this time of pandemic, we really have to appreciate the things that surrounded us. But for me, personal question lang po, no? Author to author, no? Kasi I know it's not that easy to be an author, especially in this country. But we want to know your journey. How old were you when you started writing stories po?
Every time I was a kid, maybe when I was grade 2, grade 3, I was just writing little stories. But I think the longest one I remember was when I was in grade 7. It was Bagyo, Typhoon Signal number 2. So dati, pag may Typhoon Signal number 2, Bagyo, brownout palagi. So wala kaming electricity or anything for like 3 or 4 days. And we were so bored. And I remember I found my parents' typewriter. I think it was an Olympia, if I remember right. No, it was a Smith Corona. Parang nasa maleta pa yun. So I remember getting it. And I remember just typing out the story on my dad's notepad pa. But I remember umabot ng about 60 pages. Parang it was a chapter book. Actually, I don't know where it was. My mom said recently she saw it somewhere, pero I don't know where it is. So that was, my gosh, I'm so old. So that was in 1979 or so, a long time ago. Older than you guys. And so that was the start. But ever since I was a kid, I loved to read. And I think that's the start. That's where you get the germ of writing. It's a bit, when I say germ, it's like the seed, how a seed germinates. And that's how people start writing, I think, because I would read a book a day. I see that Tinky has Nancy Drew books behind her on her bookshelf. Oh my God, parang those are the first books I read. Every day I would go to the library and borrow a book. So my library card, at the time there was something called the library card. It was a physical card. And when you borrow a book, they would put a stamp when you have to return the book. So every day I would go to the library and borrow a book. And I think I was able to finish. At the time there were 52 books. Now I think there are like so many more Nancy Drew books. And after I read Nancy Drew, I read the Hardy Boys. I'm not sure if I see the Hardy Boys behind her, but parang no, I'm not sure. Then there was the Dana Girls, and there were the Bobbsey Twins. And then there were these books by Enid Blyton, a British author. And so, yeah, that's basically how I started.
Just famous reading. Five yan, si Famous Five.
Yeah, and Amelia Jane, the naughtiest girl in the world, mga ganyan. So every day I would read a book. And sometimes I was a little naughty also. And I would be reading a book under my desk at work, and my teachers would catch me and they would get very angry. So I don't recommend you do that. But sometimes the books were so exciting, like I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I think that that's how you really start to get ideas for writing is when you read a lot of books. So yeah, I guess grade two, grade three, that's when I started.
Grade 2, grade 3. Pero yung mga magulang niyo po, they love to read books to you? How do they
Um,
encourage you?
Yeah, well, growing up, our parents would read books to us, and then my mom was always reading. She always had so many books actually on her bedside, and actually, not this is the I don't know. Is it who are listening? Are they children or adults to this conversation? Are they adults? Children.
We try to encourage kasi the family to watch
Okay.
together. So whether we're doing storytelling or interview, it's the whole family are sitting down and they're watching whatever we're streaming to
Ah,
them. So family siya.
okay. So it's just like maybe a word of advice to parents. My mom would read all sorts of romance books and different kinds of books, advent parang suspense thrillers. And I think I was a little too young for them. I think I was like first year high school, and I remember seeing these books, and so I read them, and I got so shocked by what I read. I mean, now when you think back, they were mga Sidney Sheldon, mga Daniel. I mean, during the time, the
Mills and
80s.
Boons ba yan? Mills and Boons.
Mills and Booth, I remember grade 6, I was so disturbed kasi nga stuff na, parang, I'm not, what this? So parang I think parents also have to watch what their children read kasi pag masyadong advanced, it was scary. It scared me. I think first year high school, I kind of was reading all these books na parang I was just so jarred that I actually stopped reading for a while. I think I resumed again in college. Pero parang first year high school, I stopped leisure reading kasi natakot ako. I was just reading mga books in school, the books that the high school, what I had to read for school, the high school teachers recommended. And I stayed away from commercial books and fiction because I got scared. But now I love books again. I actually love reading young adult books up to now, YA, teen books, because I guess they're much more fun. They're less complicated. It's books that parang, I don't know, now because of what's happening also in the world, I like reading happy books, stories which have happy endings, stories which entertain, which make me forget what's going on in the real world. So yeah, that's the type of book I like, the type of books that I like to read.
Yeah, nice to escape with books for free.
Oo nga, no? Actually, this pandemic has taught us to really forcefully read our books, no? What we have at home. And it's a good practice. It's a good habit. But I'm just curious lang po, Ma'am Yvette, how do you how do you find inspiration with your topics? Or when you write a book, what is the theme? What inspired you to do? Specifically, siguro let's talk about your latest book, which is The Good Morning and The Good
Uh,
Night.
yeah.
Yes,
So good morning, Manila, and good night, Manila.
yes.
Okay, this was, yeah. These are actually there's one which was just released yesterday, but I can talk about that later if you want.
Oh,
But these two, so Good Morning Manila and Good Night Manila, they were actually written for a 4-year-old girl who is very, very special to me, very close to my heart.
oh.
And so I wrote, one day I was out, just out with her in the garden. She was maybe a year old, and I was like holding her and saying, "Good morning, flowers. Good morning, trees. Good
Oh.
morning, sun." And so, I would do that with her. And then one day, I just got back to my laptop, and I just started writing that "Good morning." And at first, it was just what I would say: "Good morning, flowers. Good morning, trees." And then after that, I just decided to make it about Manila, about ice cream and Ferris wheels and things that I loved about Manila. And so I just started writing about that, and that's how it came out. And then I sent it to my friend, who is the publisher of Anvil Books, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, can you publish this? It's so nice." I just parang wrote it like as a poem, not even as a book. It was just parang, and she goes, "This is like a children's book." So she said, "Why don't we publish it?" And then her colleague, who was also another publisher, said, "I know. Why don't you make it two books? So kung may good morning, kailangan may good night." So that's
Mm.
when I decided to write Good Night Manila. So basically what happens after sundown. So that's when you see the sun setting over Manila Bay, which is
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And then, yeah, just basically people closing shop at the sari-sari stores, people going home on the buses. Kasi in the Good Morning Manila, they're off to work, off to school, and in Good Night Manila, they're saying goodnight. So that's how it came out, that particular book. And yeah, so the dedication is for that special little girl. It says here, for Sophia, who makes me smile. And then as soon as I wake up every single morning, and then the dedication for Sophia, whose goodnight kisses make me dream of brighter tomorrows. Yeah, special little girl named Dia. So there.
It's so beautiful because you learn to really see whatever is happening around, especially in this time of pandemic. Why don't we appreciate our country? I mean, our city. No matter what, no, in the morning and in the evening. Ang galing. And we could be able to really put that right seed to our kids as well. Sobrang ganda. And even the illustration. Sino po ang nag-illustrate?
Yes, her name is Nicole Lim. She is actually the illustrator. I first met her when I wrote a book called Maia's Birthday Party.
Oh, that's the one.
It's by Adarna House. And actually, the illustration, one of these illustrations, this one was, parang it was exhibited in Singapore at an illustrators conference. This
So
particular
yung
one.
photos ng book mo nagiging artwork na, no?
Yes.
So but by itself, it can
Yes.
stand alone and tell a story.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful one. And then there was another one which she submitted also to another art show. It was because she also did, actually after that, Lenny Robredo saw it, and when we were working on Simply Jessie, the story of Jessie Robredo, Nicole Lim did that. It was for Dream Big Books naman, which is by Summit Media. And then she also did Princess Leia, which is the story of Leia Salonga. And this was a very powerful drawing in that book, which people love. I think it was also exhibited at some art exhibit. I'm not sure if it was Singapore or elsewhere.
So that artwork was inspired by Leia Salonga?
Yes, this is the story of Leia Salonga. It's called Princess Leia. And this was when she was doing Miss Saigon. There. But it's cute, all of her Nicole's artwork. It's really, they tell us that this is where when she was in London, it's her story in London, when she went for Miss Saigon. And then she also has a separate spread in New York naman.
Yeah.
Eating pizza. Actually, in this one, this is the only book where I actually come out in the book also. So at her wedding, I'm actually there beside her. So I got drawn into the book. Yeah, for
may avatar ka na rin. May book character ka na rin.
It was so cute, yeah.
Sobrang ano talaga no? Importante ang illustration, and then syempre, definitely what you wrote, yung combination nun. And that's also part of Pag-asa and my Pag-asa Pagbasa advocacy is to really, focus on our authors like you, no? Because my husband and I are also authors, but we self-publish. But siguro in your way, kayo po, how do you do that? Ano po yung proseso, especially dito sa Pilipinas when you decide to publish? Paano po nangyayari yung prosesong yun?
Mm-hmm. Okay, actually, this is the very first book I ever published. I ever got published, which was back in 2006. And actually, people have to know that before this first book was published, I was rejected many, many times. At the time, I was living in New York, and I would submit these stories that I had written to so many different publishers, and then I would get rejection letters. Actually, I have them in a box somewhere. All the letters when I was rejected, and actually after Halo Halo Especial, between Halo Halo and Maia, I got rejected by Adarna House maybe twice. Stories that were never published then. And so actually when they finally said, oh, finally we're publishing Maia's Birthday Party, I was like, oh yay, finally, because there's a gap actually of 6 years yata in between these books. Parang it may not be a good fit at the time. It may be they have different reasons. So Halo Halo Especial was written when I was living in New York, and I was missing Filipino food, and so that was the germ, the seed which started Halo Halo. Basically, the original story was the character Jackie is with her Lola Itang, and she wants to make sinigang. And so the whole story is about her making sinigang. And then after she makes sinigang, then she makes halo halo. But then when I submitted it, I actually put it in an envelope, mailed it to the Philippines to Adarna House, and I think I might have submitted it to another publishing house as well. So maybe two. But I remember when Annie Almario of Adarn House wrote, I was so excited because oh my gosh, I finally got a response. And then she said, alam mo, tanggalin natin yung sinigang. So we removed the whole part about sinigang. And then she goes, what if she just makes a different merienda dish every day? So yeah, so Tinky's showing it nga. So on one day, she makes, the first day, she makes, what is it? Bibingka ba? Bibingka is first, and then she makes champurrado, and then she makes ensaymada, and then she makes turon, and then she makes halo-halo. So yeah, and so she's like, why don't you make her make it every day a different thing? I said, okay, so I did that. And then she's like, what if you make Jackie sick para she'll get well? Kasi originally she was just cooking with her lola. Walang arc na ganon. So I said, okay. So I made Jackie sick in bed. And then at the end, her lola makes her well with all of the food that she was cooking. And then, so that's how it started. And at the time, Annie didn't know this. Annie Almario, the publisher, didn't know it. But actually, my sister was actually sick at the time. She was actually sick. And so when we wrote, actually, my sister and I sort of wrote it together. And then, when I finally, it was tagal ang tagal, siguro months between the time when Annie first said she was interested in time, and then when she decided to publish it. And when she finally wrote me to say, Yvette, it got published, my sister was very ill and she went into a coma at the time. And so she passed away a few days later. But I like to feel that she knew that this was going to happen and she made it happen. Because when she went into her coma, that was the day I got the note from Annie. And so actually, I guess it's my favorite book of all. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, they're like children, but it was very special to me because it was the first book and it's because of my sister who was included in this book. And now, actually, I think it was rejected na nga by maybe another publisher in Manila. But actually, this is the most popular book of all, Halo Halo. It was written in 2006, and I think it got into reprints many times. I think over 80,000 books na have been published of this particular book because people can relate to it. I think it's because it's food, and children like it. And there was one time, I just told this story to Annie about a month ago. Na one of I remember reading in Lake Cebu in North Cotabato. Is it south? North or south? Anyway, Cotabato, Lake Cebu. We went to the Tiboli Kids, and it was really nice. And they had never tried halo halo before. And my friends, Len Kabili of Philippine Ina, who brought us there, and she brought some friends of ours all together. And everybody brought parang an ingredient. We packed them from Manila, and then we made halo halo with the Tiboli Kids, and it was so they were so happy because they'd never tried halo halo before. So that's the story of halo halo. And yeah, and then speaking of my sister Jackie, actually,
There's another book, Life is
there's
Good.
another book, yes,
Life is
called
Good.
Life
Yeah.
is Good.
It's a Life is Good.
Yeah. Do you see it right way on your end? Because I see it mirror. Okay.
Yes,
You
yes,
see it
yes.
the right. Okay. So this is the story of Life is Good. And speaking of rejection and process, Novi, this book was written just before my sister passed away in 2005. And I remember this was at the hospital. And she's like, let's write a book. And I said, okay. And so she's like, let's write a book about elephants. So we wrote a book about elephants. I remember that was a Tuesday night. And then after we wrote it, she goes, read it to me, read it to me. So I read it to her twice. And then we slept. And then I remember the next day she went home. And then that was when she now went to sleep now. She went na into a coma. So the story was read at her memorial service like maybe a week later, and this was in Boston. And so I read the book, and then after that I actually submitted it again to publishers here in Manila, but they were like, gosh, it's so sad. This was 2005, and they were like, it's so sad, it's so heartbreaking, that's not a children's story. And so 2005, it was just shelved away. And then one day, when I was talking to Sandra of Anvil, she said, do you have any stories? And then I think I found this story which I wrote for my sister. I don't know what you think, but there were other publishers which didn't want it. And she goes, "Yeah, show it to me." And I think I showed it to her maybe 5 years ago. And then we asked Pepper Rojas, who's the illustrator. We asked her if she could do it, and then she said okay. And then she said, "Oh, something happened; she couldn't do it." And then she scheduled it, parang 2 years down the road, because Pepper is a famous illustrator now in the U.S. for Penguin, I think. And so it took a while for her to finish it. So it was written in 2005. It was finally published in 2018. So 13 years later. Ang tagal. But it's finally done. So 2018, yeah, 2018. And my sister's name is on it. It's Jackie Fernandez Suntay. Yeah, and myself. And its life is good. And actually, yeah, so now I don't know. Maybe they're both my favorite. Although yesterday when I was reading the new book, I thought, oh, this is my new favorite book. So I guess it's like having kids, diba? You just love everything. They all have
Is that
special
available
places.
po here, yung the
Life is
life is
good. Yeah,
good?
it's on Anvil. Anvil
Yes,
Books.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
We can
So
order online. You can order that online. No.
yeah, I think it might even be on Shopee and Lazada. At some point they were selling it. So
You were mentioning that Halo Halo garnered like 80,000 prints,
yeah.
parang sales.
Yeah.
Isn't there like an award for that? Like if you do gold label, right, in recording, you get
Ah,
you get a
actually, I think in
plaque.
the Philippines, parang a bestseller, parang at the time, parang 5,000 books yata yung bestseller na eh. So I don't, so I mean, I guess it actually won an award in 2016. Actually, I don't have it right now, but there are, the newer ones get published, may nakalagay yung, may parang badge na called the Samsung Kids 10 Award.
Okay.
It was parang an award given in Singapore. So I remember Jill Posadas and myself, we actually went to Singapore just overnight for that award. It was a small, but idea like, oh my God, it's in Singapore. It's just a small event, but
Yeah,
it was
it's
for, yeah, from all over the region. There
see,
were
it's a
people.
nice badge. It's a nice
Yeah,
badge for an author. It's like an award.
yeah,
You reach this milestone,
yeah,
10,000 readers, 20,000, and it's a
yeah.
printed material. That's
Yes.
great.
So it's now wala.
Congratulations.
At one of the newer ones, they have the badges on them. So
Congratulations. Thank you so
thank
much for
you.
sharing that, especially with your sister, no? Such a beautiful legacy, isn't it? Yun,
Yeah.
yun nga yung po yung ano no? I think, Tinky, before I ask the last question, no? Do you want to ask more?
Maybe because she's on a streak about the past works, just the latest one,
Hmm.
the latest
Okay.
work there.
So the latest book was just released recently, and it's the story of Lenny Robredo. It's called Dancing Waters. And it was released on her birthday, April 23. And this was a story which was written during the pandemic. So actually, we haven't stopped writing during, I mean, that's the nice thing about writing. You can write anytime, anywhere. And so I think we started working on this back in January with Adarna House again. So it's my third book with Adarna House. It was Halo Halo, and then Maia's birthday party, and now Dancing Waters. It's the story of Lenny, Vice President Lenny Robredo. And it basically talks about, she's so annoying. She's very humble. And she really parang was so averse to having something about her because she kept saying, there's nothing interesting about my life. But actually, it was so interesting. And so basically, it starts with a story about her relationship with her father. Basically, the kindness and compassion that her father showed the people in Naga. He would bring children and bring old people, seniors home they would get used to having visitors for dinner, because when they were growing up, because he would find kids on the street and bring them home for a bath and a warm meal, or he would bring home seniors, and then after that he'd give them a bath, well, the kids, and then bring them back to their parents, and with toys pa, from the vice president and her siblings, and then bring her back. So that's how basically she learned all about kindness and compassion, which is still so evident in everything that she does today. So that's the story of VP Lenny. And so we're so excited. It's just very, very new as of April 23rd on Adarna's website. And half the proceeds are going to VP Lenny's advocacies. So Adarna was also very generous with the proceeds from the sale of this book.
Are any of the books, did they become ebooks? Parang yan yung trend.
Actually, Halo Halo, I think one of the prizes which came with that Samsung Kids Time Award was they made it into an ebook. Big John, the story of John Gokongwei, which is the part of the Dream Big Book series, that was made into an ebook by Summit Books. I think it's the only one. I'm not sure if the others will be made into ebooks, but I do know that VP Lenny's book will be made. There is, I think Adarna's digital arm is called Bori Books, and today, because people were commenting, VP Lenny posted about it on Facebook, and so people are saying it's going to be an ebook to work people abroad, and Adarna said that it will be made into a digital book very soon. I'm not sure about the others.
Yes, that's very exciting. There, thank you so much for sharing that. So, available na po ito. Mabibili din natin to sa mga Shopee and Lazada, isn't it? Or,
Well, I know it for sure. It's on Adarna House's website. I'm not sure if it's available yet with the other retail. Baka eventually, I'm sure. The distribution lang during this lockdown is a little trickier.
okay. Maybe to seal this conversation, I just would like to ask you this last question. In your favorite book or what, ano po yung pinaka-favorite na praise nyo na pwede nyong basahin sa amin ngayon siguro? That you can read to us, like a short one page or what, and why do you like that part of your book?
Right, probably life is good,
Okay.
as even just that line alone, that I think it reflects my outlook in life and how I'd like to think that in spite of everything, life is good, and it's just a matter of being more positive and optimistic and looking at the brighter side of things, that no matter what, life is good. So here's this is what the one little elephant said to the other at the end, and I'll read it now. It said, "And when the rain stopped and the sun smiled, the big elephant felt clean and new again, and she danced around the grass. I am in my happy place now, finally seeing the world," said the sparkling drops of rain to her dancing sister. "When things seem darkest, wait for the rain. It will wash away all the dirt, all the tears. And remember, sister, the sun always comes out in the end. Life is good."
Thank you,
The tech
Yvette,
group.
for sharing that. But siguro for a
Imagine.
last message for our parents right now who are listening, na they're having a hard time maybe, connecting with their kids, especially through reading. No, what can you advise? How can you encourage, especially also maybe a message to the young writers? Kahit maliliit pa silang bata, kanina nga yung kinukwento nyo sa amin, di ba? Na when you started that, that concept and idea na, wow, that you love to write. So what is your message?
Pasalamat kayo na may computer, hindi naka-typewriter.
Yeah, my message is, spend as much time as you can with your children. It's always nice for the parents to read to their children, and or at least, or show them that you read as well, to develop that love for reading. And even if you don't have books of your own, you can go to the libraries. Sa school, meron naman. If you don't have books, you can also do ebooks nowadays sa mga tablet. I know everybody nowadays may tablet or may phone, pwede na magbasa doon. Or if you really don't have books, or if you yourself don't know how to read, I know there are parents who can't read, kwentuhan nyo na lang yung mga bata. Tell stories to your children. They love hearing stories talaga. So just, just tell stories about your childhood, anong pinagdaanan nyo, about your parents, basically the history of their own family, basically any stories, lives, or if you can, gusto nyo mag-invento ng sarili nyong stories, sariling kwento, happy stories, anything. It's just that bonding na nga, just the storytelling and just being with your children and spending a lot of time with them, which is most important.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for this. Thank you, talagang connecting, no? It doesn't medium kung wala kang libro. I love what you said about that, no? You really connect to your kids. When you connect to your kids, even through stories, it builds relationships, especially in this time of pandemic. Thank you so much, Mom Yvette.
Thank you,
Thank you, my dear.
Yvette.
Thank you
Want to
so
say
Thank
much.
anything?
you.
Thank you.
So message you again, ah.
Yes.
Okay.
Marami pong
Okay.
salamat. Kami po sa May Pag-asa at Pagbasa. Nandito po kami to shape a mind. Okay? And give a book. May pag-asa sa pagbasa. Marami pong salamat, Ma'am Yvette. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Maraming
Thank you.
salamat.
Thanks,
See you
Yvette. Bye,
soon.
Novi. Bye.